What up, it's SWIRF TV. Today I'm going to be showing you how to put thermal pads on the 6700 XT reference card from AMD. There are no thermal pads whatsoever on the backplate, so I'm going to do that.
The first thing you're going to need,
tweezers, anti-static
tables,
bracelet,
disarming knife.
Whenever you work on your computer, unplug everything. I'm going to take the glass panel out. Don't drop the glass. Don't drop the glass. Alright, so now that the glass has been removed, get any dust or debris out. Anytime I'm going to work on the computer, I do blow it out because it is a white case. Unplug the power cables from the GPU. And then loosen the screws on the I/O shield. Keep some kind of container for all the screws. People don't know this, and they finger fist destroy the locking mechanism on their PCI Express slot. Right here. Push in. Oops. Now you can take out the GPU. Wiggle it a little bit. Now we have our GPU. I don't have a mod mat, but I'm using a wood table, so I think that static situation's pretty irrelevant and rare enough that I don't give up. Steve from Gamers Nexus always loves to point these out.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Void if removed or damaged sticker on the screw. It's not legally enforceable in the United States. There's a Right to Repair Act trying to elevate the right to repair situation. Someone who's knowledgeable can fix it without voiding the warranty. So we don't even need these. Do a crisscross pattern. Just like a motherboard or a CPU or anything else like it. There's an empty PCB, no thermal pads on it. It's a heatsink, it's metal. It's probably really cheap aluminum and not the best conductor in the world, but it's metal. And these were like $12. Current data on the screen from the benchmarks. I use more power tool to lower frequencies and the voltage. Max PPT as seen here. At the time of that test, the ambient temperature was 72 Fahrenheit. Right now, the ambient temperature, 75. It's like perfect though. I did get the right size for that, yeah. 20 millimeters wide. So I'm gonna cut a little angle out on each of these corners for those screws. There we go. Perfect. So that's one. Let's trim a little bit off of this one, it looks fine. And then I'm gonna do the corners as well. Oh, I'm not worried about this desk because I can just paint it. It's wood. Just eyeballing it. There, perfect. Look at that. You know why I knew how to do that? Because of people like Steve from Gamers Nexus and Buildzoid and Joe from Bearded Hardware. Not cooks like Jay's 2 Cents and Linus Tech Tips who will say anything they get paid to. I'm saying fucking sellouts. Alright, now that we got that out the way. So I mean I can even see like on the screw size layer, like it doesn't even go above that screw there. So we can use that as a reference because those screws do pop out almost level with the backplate. Yep, so we'll just make them flush with the screws for the GPU die cooler. Yep. So it looks like, yeah, probably 2. Because you want it to be a little bit of pressure, but not too much. because if there's too much pressure here, then the backplate will be bowed, which could potentially pull this part inward and warp your PCB. So you want to make sure it's nice, smooth. You don't want to have to torque on it to get it down, but you want to be able to like set on it and just have it slightly higher than it was before. Like, I'm talking a fraction of a millimeter, like a 1/16 of a millimeter above where it was, and then you push that down into it. Because you just, all you need is contact for the tape, basically. That's it. That's really it. Alright, so using these for a reference. These are too small to use for anything. Maybe that little guy for one thing, I don't know. It's the same thing. I'll cut it in half, roughly. Hit this corner, hit this corner, hit this corner, hit this corner. And just hope they line up close enough. Yep, well that was right, I cut a small chunk off of the side of this little guy. It's not an exact science, guys. It's basically a little putty. It's kind of putty-like, so it's really not a big deal. Like, the VRAM is flip chip, so the heat is closer to the PCB than it is to the other side of their IHS or integrated heat spreaders. So most of the heat is actually here. So the fact that they don't have thermal pads on the spot where there is actually more heat in a backplate that is metal that they took the time to punch. Go big corporations during a crisis, you know, we gotta gouge everybody. Gotta gouge them. Looks good to me. Maybe that little guy. Toss that shit. Take a break. Get rid of that. That little corner might potentially be used for something. Alright. So, peel one side off. Nope. Line it up. Make sure you can cover all the as much of the other little capacitors that you can. It's pretty good. Yeah. It's kind of like putty. It's a little bit like putty. And stick it on there a little bit. I'll leave this side of the tape on for now, just because I want to do like pressure tests with one first. So make sure you don't cover the screws. Bang. And watch the edge too. Don't be too close to the edge. I might, well. No, the edge is fine. It doesn't go in. It doesn't go in at all. This is almost flat here. So you don't have to worry about the edge too much. Alright, let's see what that looks like. Definitely gotta double it. So I'm peeling one side off of the other two, and we're gonna peel the other side off of these once I got it where I want it. good. Hopefully I have a little bit of a nail so you can get it. Yeah, we're good. If not, we have another stick, right? Or no? No, we don't. So that's gonna have to be perfect. That's gonna have to be perfect because I only bought one. So hopefully it'll come in contact. If it doesn't work, if it doesn't come in contact at all, we'll know because the temperature won't change on the thermal junction in the VRAM. So we'll be good there to tell. But if it does work, I'm hoping for like 75C if I'm lucky. That's really my hopes. I mean, I've never really done this, so I just really want to keep it under 80, and 75 would be ideal. I know it's fine, like spec-wise, 115C, I believe AMD's GDDR6, or yeah, GDDR, I fucking hate saying that, GDDR6. I think the spec is the TJ Maxx is 115, I think, or 110. Not really sure. Alright. Let's check it one more time. Yep, that's gonna, ooh, careful. That's gonna be great. So now we can just push down a little harder, because it does look like it's gonna be a little bit of pressure, so make sure they're pressed down good. Peel the stickers off. Make sure you get all the stickers, guys, because that's what, plastic is not conductive, so you don't want plastic melting into your thermal pads because they're 110 degrees Celsius. So make sure you get all the plastic. That reminds me of my mom making cheeseburgers with without taking the plastic off. She actually grilled them with plastic on the cheese. I remember that. I was very young, but that was hilarious. We had plastic cheeseburger. It's the final countdown. So it's our last chance here. Oh yeah, that looks like great contact, actually. So 2mm pads, guys. If you don't want to have to do what I did, make sure you get 2mm pads, because they are perfect. As it's just a little bit of pressure. So we're gonna have to do exactly what you do for CPU coolers, so we don't mess up the pressure on the PCB. So screw this in lightly, then screw this one in lightly, screw these in lightly, then tighten them a little bit more, and then work your way crosswise pattern, just like you would with a CPU cooler. Just a little bit of tightness. Just don't torque it hard at first. Just a tiny bit on those, because it is a little bit of pressure. It's literally like a cold plate on a CPU. Don't just do them all in one spot. You want to spread out the pressure, and so it evenly goes down and nothing gets warped. And you want good contact with whatever thermal solution you're using. All right, guys, SWIRF TV here. I'm back to review the data and compare them from the stock results to the Arctic APT2560 thermal pads just on the ETHEREUM. Stock 24-hour test of ETHEREUM. The temperature ranged from 80 Celsius to 84 Celsius on the memory junction with an average of 82 Celsius and an ambient temperature of 22.2 repeating Celsius or 72 degrees Fahrenheit, giving it a delta T over ambient of 59.8 Celsius. And with the Arctic APT2560, same thing, 24 hours of ETHEREUM mining, same exact settings. The ambient temperature was 75 Fahrenheit, so it went up a little bit, 24.4 Celsius, giving it a delta of 49.6 Celsius over ambient, making the differential 10.2 Celsius over ambient for $12. To me, that's a pretty big reduction. Well worth the time. I didn't like seeing my memory thermal junction over 80 Celsius, even though it's fine spec-wise. But for longevity purposes and just for ease of my mind, I like to see everything in the computer basically under 75 Celsius. So I'm really happy with the results. My goal was 75 Celsius. I got 74. Very, very good. Very happy with that. The other thing I just want to comment on is AMD usually does this themselves. I'm assuming because it's a GPU shortage, silicon shortage, and global crisis that they decided to gouge people by not putting those in. Cut corners. It might have cost them $1 a unit, and they figured, hey, if we sell 1 million units, we save $1 million. And it's a GPU shortage crisis anyway, so if it's available, they're gonna buy it. So we don't need to put thermal pads on it. Most people won't even notice, and that's basically the similar mentality NVIDIA has with the 3070 Ti and 3080 Ti they've just released. Same exact principles. They've cut corners wherever they could because it doesn't matter. If there's GPUs on the shelf or on the website and you need one, you're gonna buy it. So they don't care if it's well crafted or designed. All they care about is getting that money. So we have to spend an additional $12 on top of the $475 MSRP on the 6700 XT because they couldn't spend $1 to put the thermal pads in themselves, because AMD didn't want to spend $1 or $2, I'm assuming, per unit that it would be for, cost of scaling. I definitely recommend the Arctic APT2560. It worked very well. They were easy to work with. The plastic peels came off easily. It's nice and soft, so I could get it to the level I wanted without putting too much pressure on the PCB or the backplate. So overall, highly recommended. Hopefully you guys learned something. This will apply to other graphics cards too. So if you follow the process I did where I looked at it and said, okay, those are the memory modules. How high do I think I have to do it? I did 1 millimeter and I checked it. You could do the same process I did for basically any graphics card. Some of them will have thermal pads already on the back plate, some of them won't. So if you open it up and they already have thermal pads on, you can just peel them off. There might be some residue left over, but you can use rubbing alcohol and then use that to get the residue off. Then air dry it, like with the air dryer I use. And then put the thermal pads on there to replace older ones, or just put better ones on there to begin with, because typically things like pre-applied thermal paste, stock thermal pads are pretty bottom of the barrel garbage. So just replacing your stock thermal paste or thermal pads can make a difference. I spent a lot of time editing this video. Donations would be appreciated. They're in the description. I could do PayPal, Cash App, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Raven, Doji, Monero, XRP. Take your pick. My buddy wants me to remind you to like and subscribe because I never say that. And background music for this video was provided by Meyer Beats. I've used his instrumentals for my own music projects. They're all royalty free. Big thanks to Steve from Gamers Nexus, Buildzoid from Actually Hardcore Overclocking, and Joe from Bearded Hardware. I learned a lot from those three guys. The work I did on the video today and the mod on the GPU would not have been possible without those three people. I highly recommend those three sources. I wouldn't go anywhere else, except for Hardware Unboxed is really good. They're Australian, so a little different perspective on things. And they also do monitor reviews and stuff that the other three don't. So that'll do it. SWIRF TV here. Hope you guys learned something and improved the thermals on your graphics card. I am SWIRF TV. Thanks for watching.